The American identity is a generally relative idea. Depending on one's heritage, occupation, or a wide variety of other factors, one person's views on the American identity can vary greatly. People believe that the American identity is one of conquest, with the idea of manifest destiny and equal economic gain encapsulating what it means to be an American. Others may say that the American identity is one of helping those in need, providing for and defending those who can't do so for themselves. And while all these ideas may be true to some extent, this idea goes much deeper than that. I believe the American identity is one common theme that is found throughout the entirety of human history, and that theme is unwavering resilience and bravery in the face of turmoil. Throughout our country's history, Americans have time and time again proved their identity through unwavering resilience in times of struggle. One of the very first examples of this is seen in Jamestown, the first colony on American soil, where, in the winter of 1609, out of the 500 colonists that originally came, only 60 survived starvation. However, they found a way to survive, and those who did make it turned the New World into a thriving civilization some 60 years later with the newfound knowledge of tobacco crops. This alone turned a near-failed colonization attempt into America being the country it is today, and it was all done through the willpower of the early settlers. While this attitude was shown by the earliest settlers of the nation, it was also shown by the earliest people in the country, the natives. From the start of America's history, the Native Americans have been there, and, from the start of America's history, the natives have been oppressed by the earliest settlers. This image perfectly sums up the extent to which Native Americans were put down. They were robbed of their land and resources, killed, displaced, and all so that those settlers could make the land their own. But in all of this, the natives also showed bravery, never backing down to the settlers until they were forced to do so, and remaining a core part of America's identity. Finally, and possibly the best example of resilience in hardship, would be that of the American slaves. There are so many sources that depict the brutalities and atrocities that they endured, and one such source would be the narrative from Oluda Equiano. This writing showed the horrors that were endured in the Middle Passage. Countless narratives of other slaves tell the same horrific story, and more, as the years went on. Even more brutalities occurred on plantations, with people being born into slavery only to experience a lifetime of racism and oppression. Black Americans have been some of the most oppressed groups in the history of the world. However, as shown in films such as Harriet, they struggled, fought, and survived against all odds until finally they were free. And while it took many more decades for the oppression to be put to an end, they continued to struggle and fight until it finally was. Some people believe that the American identity was built around ideas of conquest, with westward expansion being an integral part of our nation's identity. John O'Sullivan believed that it was America's destiny to expand across the entire continent, and that this was God's mission to the American people. He wrote that it was a necessity for the country to expand westward, and that this was America's purpose. Others may say that the American identity is built around economic opportunity, with the first rise in settlers being due to new opportunities with tobacco and land. The Industrial Revolution being another example of this, with new advancements in technology and industry bringing immigrants from Europe to take part in this boom. Finally, one can point out Alexander Hamilton's first Bank of the United States as an example of this, as the bank was created to keep a stable economy and foster growth throughout the nation. Others still may say that throughout history, to be an American is to be in service to those in need. This, however, is a relatively modern idea, as obviously with the oppression of minority groups throughout the nation's history, it really couldn't be a part of the identity as a whole. While all of these things are today a major part of what makes America the great country that it is, history has shown that there is one major idea that truly reflects the American identity, and that idea is bravery. It was bravery that helped the settlers survive attacks from the natives and stave off starvation. It was bravery that helped the American rebels beat the English and win our nation's independence. Bravery helped Harriet Tubman free many slaves and escape to slavery herself, as well as bravery helped countless other enslaved and oppressed people survive amid turmoil. Bravery is the sole reason that America is the place it is today, and the most important part of American identity. To touch back on the misconceptions about the identity, the expansion of our country could not have been done without the bravery to venture deep into the unknown, to chart new paths, settle new horizons, and survive in the harshest of conditions. And it was the bravery of the people, not the help of the government, that got the enslaved people and natives through centuries of abuse. In the first essay we wrote for this class, I proposed the idea that the American identity is formed by the diverse culture of the nation, with people from all sorts of backgrounds, beliefs, and cultures meshing to form a melting pot of diversity. However, as we learned about how this country came to be, I grew to the understanding that we would not have such a diverse culture without the bravery of the people that allowed America to be the great nation it is. I came to this conclusion as I learned about the brutality of early settlements and slavery through movies such as Harriet and Django Unchained, and how oppressed groups survived so much struggle to come out free and equal to all, which is what makes America the great nation it is today. From the beginning of American history, the people of this nation have survived countless hardships through an unwavering resilience. From the earliest settlers to Native Americans to enslaved peoples, the people of our nation have endured and fought to make our country a great nation where everyone has equal opportunity from birth. This could not have been done without the sacrifice of all those who came before us, and it is that brave sacrifice which allows us to live the incredibly diverse nation that we have today.